You're listening to the Jōrni Podcast. Would you be surprised if I told you that the job you can't stand, your empty bank account, the messy divorce, and even the stubborn muffin handles are all your manifestation in action? Curious? Don't miss today's episode. Hi, I'm Petra Brunbauer, and with decades of experience with sadness, pain, anxiety, and stress, I finally figured out how to leave all that behind. And this podcast shows you how to break free permanently so you can reclaim your sanity and find the self-esteem and energy to go after the life you desire. With real talk about mental health, holistic healing, and the tough journey of coming out the other end. This is the Jōrni Podcast. Welcome to today's episode. In this episode, we dive into the extraordinary potential of our minds to shape our reality and manifest the lives we dream of. Papi DiNuzzo is the founder and president of Papi Mindset Coach and DiNuzzo Private Wealth Inc., which he founded in 1989 and which currently serves clients in over 30 states across the United States and manages $1 billion as of March 31st, 2025. Through Papi Mindset Coach, he delivers self-improvement and personal development by teaching people who desire to manifest their dream lives, even if they feel like they currently have nothing. Papi's passion is to inspire underserved people, communities of color, single-parent households, and women and children in need. His message is one of hope, inspiration, abundance, and peace of mind. He's been featured on various TV, radio, print, and online publications, both national and international, including Oprah and Friends, Wall Street Journal, CNBC Power Lunch, Bloomberg Businessweek, Forbes, CBS News, USA Today, Private Wealth Magazine, Kiplinger, Barron's, Morningstar, and the Financial Times. He's also the #1 U.S. and #1 international Barnes & Noble, #1 Amazon nonfiction overall, #3 C-Suite Network, #5 Wall Street Journal, and USA Today bestseller list, author of several books, including Manifest Anything You Can Imagine, The DiNuzzo Middle Market Family Office Breakthrough, Don't Get Killed on Taxes, The 7 Keys to Investing Success, and The Secret to Scale. Manifest Anything You Can Imagine by Papi DiNuzzo is a motivational mind, body, spirit, self-improvement, and personal development book that explores the power of your mind in achieving goals and manifesting dreams. Papi discusses the law of attraction and provides techniques for harnessing the subconscious mind, setting intentions, and using visualization to manifest desired outcomes in your life. His book emphasizes the importance of positive thinking, belief in oneself, and taking action towards achieving your dreams. It serves as a practical guide for anyone looking to unlock their potential to create a fulfilling life through the principles of manifestation and the law of attraction. Here is my interview with Papi DiNuzzo. Hi, Papi. It's so great to have you on the podcast today. I've been looking forward to getting to chat with you because manifest anything you can imagine is such a fascinating topic. And we talk about it a lot, but I feel like many people don't truly understand what that means. So I'm really glad you're here to tell us about that and share your experience and your perspective. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much, Petra. Thank you so much. I say namaste. Namaste to you, my wonderful sister. The spirit in me greets the spirit in you, to you and your entire feminine energy audience. We were talking earlier, and I could literally feel the energy from your audience and what you're doing and what you work with, this powerful feminine energy and feminine wisdom. So thank you so much. It's very powerful.
Oh, thank you, Papi, and namaste to you and our listeners today as well. And yes, let's bring in that feminine energy and really open that up. And listeners, buckle your seatbelts. We're about to go on a ride with Papi. Papi, do you want to start us off a little bit about yourself and maybe some bits about your journey or your story that connect with what you do today, and share with our listeners what it is that you do today?
I would just suggest what I tell the audience, Petra, is that it really is, and you hit the nail on the head, it's really a manifesting journey. I would be considered a manifestation mindset life coach, but my journey has been similar to a lot of our fellow brothers and sisters. There's ups and downs and peaks and valleys, et cetera. And when I started, we come from humble backgrounds. My Italian grandparents and Polish grandparents come from Warsaw, Poland, and Naples, Italy, working in the steel mills here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for over 40 years. My dad did the same thing. And long story short, we come to the point in the road we come to a fork in the road where you get to take the 3D highway, like my grandparents and my parents, and you say, how do I make more money? How am I more successful? It's by the sweat of my brow, the ache of my neck, and the ache of my back, doing physical. My grandmother had a third grade education, was in the stone quarries outside of Naples, Italy, breaking big rocks into little rocks, literally. And they thought you had to work 50 hours a week to do better, or 60 or 70, you work 7 days a week. But I'm here to offer a suggestion to your audience today, Petra, that we do live in a perfect and infinite. We live in a thought world within a perfect and infinite thought universe. And in this perfect and infinite thought universe, I call this, Petra, the game of life. That you and I and all of our fellow 8 billion plus fellow brothers and sisters are in the game of life. And the game of life operates under perfect and infinite universal laws. That's one of my suggestions for your audience today. Universal law of love. That's the only law that fulfills all other laws. The universal law of balance, universal law of vibration, the law of attraction, one of the main ones we'll be talking about today, the law of compensation, law of gratitude, the law of polarity, the law of abundance, the law of resonance, et cetera, law of allowance. And I just make suggestions to your audience that this can change their life, that we all have. The universe tells me, Petra, that 97% of your fellow brothers and sisters, Papi, are getting a failing grade on their report card regarding manifesting. And the suggestions I offer, Petra, is that all of our listeners today, and especially we're really focusing in the energy so great on this feminine energy and feminine wisdom. And women are just so close to this, and we need their help so much to make this world a better place, that the average fellow brothers and sisters, especially the fellow sisters that we're reaching out to today, have however much power you think you have inside, or how much ability you think you have. You have dramatically more power and ability inside of you. If you can think it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. If you will become what you think, we literally create things with our thoughts. Everything on earth, Petra, is created twice. First in your or mine, or one of fellow sisters who are listening today in their mind. And then second, the physical object back of it is created. That's when, if you said in my lifetime or going back 100 or 200 years, who would I consider to be the smartest person on earth? Let's just say Albert Einstein would be in the top 10 probably. He's a pretty good pick, Albert Einstein. He quantum physicist extraordinaire. Albert Einstein was walking out of a presentation. A woman came up to him and said, Mr. Einstein, I think you're the smartest person on earth. I have 2 young children. I love them more than anything. What is your best advice for me to raise my children, for them to be as smart as possible? And Albert Einstein responded to the mom. He said, if you want your children to be as smart as possible, read them fairy tales. If you want them to be very smart, read them a lot of fairy tales. So my fellow sisters, what was Albert Einstein talking about? Everything happens again in our thoughts. So think of it like a beautiful white cloud up above your head. And in your imagination, every one of our listeners today, Petra, has a special gift, separate and unique to any of our other 8 billion fellow plus brothers and sisters. Every one of your listeners can make such a unique contribution and can do extraordinary things that they right now probably don't even think they're imaginable. And when I talk about manifesting anything you can imagine, Petra, I say about health. So if you said, Papi, what are the 3 top questions you get asked? And somebody says, Papi, can you help me in my life to manifest a better life? And when I'm talking to them, the top 3 categories are health, wealth, and love. Now, health gets divided into 2 parts. That's how you and I, it's like I had my cell phone up, I'm vibrating here, and Petra's halfway across the globe, and you've got your cell phone here on the same, I'm holding my hands up by my head here, and it comes together, we're on the same frequency. You want to help your fellow sisters, you're an expert, your track record is so great. That's what I desire to do. So we come together, we meet that way. Mental wellness is part. So physical health and mental wellness is so important. That's what a lot of my fellow brothers and sisters ask me about is health, physical and mental. wealth, of course, any and all things to do with money, and then love. Love is so important, and that branches off to a lot of different categories. Whether the universe, it's amazing, Petra. It's pretty straightforward with the universe, but a lot of our fellow brothers and sisters have never heard a lot of this before. We come here first and foremost in a tie for number one to love ourselves. So just think, Petra, like all the fellow wonderful sisters that you're helping across the globe, a lot of them have that challenge. They're not there. They're not confident, or their self-esteem, or something happened that's got them stuck in a rut. And why do we come here as one of our goals to love ourselves? Because all of our wonderful sisters on this podcast listening, you have a power inside of you beyond your wildest imagination. You have a perfect spirit. You have a perfect spiritual DNA, and you have perfect spiritual spark. Perfect. I didn't say, Petra didn't say good. I didn't say okay. I didn't say better than average. Perfect. So how do we access this? So when our fellow sisters understand all of this power that we've been given, that you have the ability to manifest, and manifest again, Petra, just a fancy word for create, to be able to create anything we can imagine, to create anything we can imagine. I don't quote Jesus very often, but the one quote that I do, because I stay 100% spirituality. I don't talk about any religions. I stay neutral as to religions. I stay neutral as to governments. I stay neutral as to politics. But one of the most powerful quotes, people will hear me use a lot of the master's quotes, so to speak. I'll talk about Albert Einstein, quantum physicists, etc. And Jesus said that the kingdom of God resides and lives within you. That means access to all knowledge and all power of all time. I see a beautiful golden beam going from your heart area, so to speak, Petra, to mine. I see it going out to all type of different directions, going up and above to ethereal beings. And that is the universal subconscious mind. So our fellow sisters, if you can get in touch with this and understand, now women have an advantage here, Petra. Actually, they have an advantage. So if we can think of, when we talk about a mind, Papi, if I ask someone, what do you think your mind is? 99% of the time, my fellow brothers and sisters will say, Papi, I think it's my brain. And so your brain's the more of your mind is than your nose or your toes are. So your mind, if the audience can think, I'm drawing a big circle around my head right now, as far as my arm can reach, a big circle all the way around my head with a horizontal line through the middle. The top of that circle, I'm putting a C there for my conscious mind. The bottom part of the circle, an SC for my subconscious mind, a little line going down. So I'm drawing a stick figure, a little line going down, tiny circle here for my body with the line up on each side for arms and hands, a line down each side. To my fellow brothers and sisters, we talked about that beautiful pearl white cloud up above your head. And that's where your imagination is. And you're using your thoughts and your imagination. So we came here, as I said, first and foremost, my wonderful sisters on this podcast, to love yourself, number one, in a tie for number one, to love your fellow brothers and sisters, and in a tie for that, to do no harm. Now, Petra, how wonderful of a world would this be if our fellow sisters understood this awe-inspiring power that they possess? They were in love with themselves because they've got all knowledge and all power of all time and all ability. They're loving their fellow brothers and sisters, and they do no harm. I don't want to mention what conflicts are going across the globe right now, but there's major conflicts between countries and dozens of countries against other. There's a lot going on that is not in the do no harm category. So just think about how much wonder we're moving towards that with this big shift to the new earth. So my fellow sisters, you think about this pearl white cloud up above your head, and you think a thought. Now, when you think a thought, a firework goes off in the fifth dimension or above. Just think up in the quantum field, like where do things get created at? So you came here also, my wonderful sisters, you came here to harness and direct energy. If you were to ask me, Petra, say, Papi, who would possibly be on par with Albert Einstein? He was a genius, quantum physicist genius, mathematic genius extraordinaire. I would say Nikola Tesla, Tesla. Some folks will recognize that name because of Elon Musk's car company. He named it after Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla, the same thing, Petra. He's walking out of a building and someone comes up to him and says, Mr. Tesla, I think you're the smartest person on earth. I can't imagine how brilliant you are, and the work you've done is beyond, I can't even understand 99% of it. And I would just love to know, Mr. Tesla, I think you're the smartest person on earth. What is your advice for me to be able to be as successful as I can here on planet Earth, understand this place, understand the universe, but for me in my life here, to be as successful as possible? Mr. Tesla, without missing a beat, said, if you want to be as successful as possible, understand everything around you, and understand actually this entire universe, you need to understand three things. Now, these are three things coming from one of the smartest people on earth, who's a quantum physicist, mathematic genius, literally a genius. So what three things does he tell this individual that you need to understand to be successful? Probably three things a lot of our listeners will not think that he would say. He said the three things that you must understand to be successful is energy, vibration, and frequency. Energy, vibration, frequency. So we think back, and I'll quote Buddha an awful lot. Buddha recounted 550 plus lives that he lived here on planet Earth. And I reached out to Ancient Ascended Master Council and I said, Petra, I said, man, this is pretty exciting. 550 some lives, and you could recount details from all of those. I said, that is like fascinating. And Ancient Ascended Master Council said, Papi, that's not even half of it. He spent more than 550 lives in addition to what he spent on Earth in other dimensions, other densities, and other planes. So you talk about the body of knowledge. You talk about wisdom, true wisdom. And what is one of Buddha's famous quotes? Again, you will become what you think, you will attract what you feel, and you will create what you imagine. So let's just think about this. My wonderful sisters who are listening in today, you will become what you think. What's going on? This is the power of your mind. And your mind, again, is that big circle up top, your conscious mind working in harmony with your subconscious mind, working in harmony with your body. So you think this thought up above your head. Everything on earth is created twice, first in our thoughts and then the physical object back of it. So we think a thought. One of the things people come to me, patients, and say, Papi, you know, you really turned me on to this. I want you to help me manifest things. I've got things I want to manifest: health, wealth, happiness, love, relationship, spirituality. And I'll ask our fellow brothers and sisters, Paige, I'll say, well, just let me know first off, what do you want? And then Paige, there's typically an eerie silence after that. It's like cricket, cricket. You just hear crickets in the back. You don't hear anything. And I'll say, what do you want? And they'll say, Papi, I don't know what I want. And I'll say, well, how are we ever going to be able to achieve your goal if you don't know what you want? I said, equally important, how are we going to know what to ask the universe for if you don't know what you want? So that's one thing that I work with our brothers and sisters on is we think these thoughts, we want to identify a want. And once we do, so when that firework goes off up there in the fifth dimension or above, Petra, when that firework goes off, when our fellow sisters have a thought and that dust and that smoke settles, we see the faint outline of what you were thinking about. Our fellow sisters have to understand, you have to understand how powerful you are. When you have a thought, you're just thinking right now, it's a thought. When you have a thought, my fellow sisters, you are gathering and harnessing energy and you're directing it somewhere. So you harness and you gather this energy, you have a thought and a firework goes off. And when that dust and smoke settles up in the fifth dimension or above, you see a faint outline of what you were thinking about. A new purse, I want to graduate college, a significant other, better health, better mental wellness, whatever it is, you see a faint outline. Now, the secret sauce to this recipe, the secret sauce is emotion. The secret sauce is emotion. When you apply emotion to your thought, now up in the fifth dimension or above, the first firework goes off in your thought, but then boom, 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 dozens of fireworks go off because how important and powerful your emotions are. And when those dozens of fireworks and that dust and that smoke settles down from those fireworks, you see the outline of what you're thinking about much more well-developed, much more well-developed. So this plays into the strength of your audience, Petra, of these wonderful, powerful women who are listening in. Because if you said, Papi, tell me something, that big circle I drew around my head with that horizontal line in the middle, conscious mind on top, subconscious on the bottom, say, Papi, I'm just curious, of everything that I accomplish on earth, for all of our wonderful listeners today, how much of it is accomplished in the top half, my conscious mind, and how much in the subconscious? So think of the subconscious in the bottom as like a bowl. I talk about this being the bottom half of that circle, a bowl. How much is accomplished in the bowl? Only 5% is accomplished of what you accomplish in life in your conscious mind. 95% is accomplished in your subconscious mind. So why should our female audience be getting excited today, Petra? Let me tell you. Here's why I want them to get excited. Our top mind, our conscious mind, is our thinking mind. Our bottom half of that bowl, our subconscious mind, is our feeling mind. Women are experts at feeling. So just think about this. All of our listeners today, the phrase women's intuition didn't come out of left field. It's ubiquitous. It's used across planet Earth because women are more in touch, much more in touch with their feelings and their emotions. And that is how your subconscious mind works. So what we want, Petra, is your wonderful audience to start to listen. A perfect being. If we want some other really good information today, you are an eternal and endless spiritual being. The great news for today is there is no end of your life. There's no end of your life. Buddha was here 550 times. I'm on like my 155th time. You will get to incarnate and come back again. And it's all about further elevating and purifying your spirit when you come back. We come back first and foremost for karmic lessons. We come back for karmic lessons to clear that energy. We come back for other energies. There's actually contracts as well. We don't want to get too deep on that today, but we can manifest anything, Petra. We can manifest anything we can imagine as long as it's not regarding a karmic lesson. But even around that karmic lesson, the universe will redirect us. It'll redirect us. I can guarantee your audience, Petra, that if they offer up something, if they are their authentic self, if they are genuine, if they are humble, if they come from a degree of humility, ancient ascended master counts, the universe has guaranteed me time and time again, Papi, all prayers are heard and answered. All affirmations are heard and answered. All intentions are heard and answered. And there's a pause there, typically, Petra, and then the universe will say, Papi, and understand some of the greatest prayers, affirmations, and answers that are provided are ones that are never provided. I just say, if our audience can think about some things we really thought we wanted, and you could say a week, a month, a year later, thank goodness that didn't happen, because I thought that was the greatest thing for you, man. In hindsight, thank goodness that didn't come through. Our female listeners, this wonderful feminine energy that's on his podcast today, you've got such a huge advantage with your women's intuition that you're in tune with your subconscious mind. You are so strong on your feelings and on your emotions. And this is where the magic happens in our subconscious mind. When we think that thought up above our head and we apply it, we think all of our imagination today, I want that. If we focus on it, my fellow sisters, you focus on it and start to apply even a little bit of emotion, that want will come out of that cloud down into your conscious mind. Now you focus on it and you apply more emotion to it, and it deposits down into the rich treasure of your subconscious mind. And you want to focus on and apply emotions. And our fellow sisters are experts at that who are listening today. You apply the secret sauce emotions to that. Your subconscious mind will start to vibrate. The vibration goes down and through your body. And it's like literally holding a cell phone. So if our sisters can think of, if they're standing up, if they can imagine a room where they're at, Petra, if they're standing up, think of their belly button where you're at, let's say halfway up your body, that you want to vibrate above that point. So let's say, just to give that a number, if that's 200, if you're below there, you're in a de-energized state. You're literally de-energized. So you're tired, you're grumpy. So what vibrations are below our belly button, below 200? Shame, guilt, anger, passive obedience, just obeying something without thinking about it, anger, fear, worry, doubt. If we could think of this, my fellow sisters, we need to get at least one nostril, so to speak, above our belly button so we can breathe oxygen and bring it in. So you start putting out these higher vibrations. And let's think about from our belly button to the top of our head, that would be 400. We want to be up here. So where your vibration is at, how you feel. I am so happy and grateful now. I live in prosperity every day in every way without delay. Let's say that's up by my head when I say that vibration. I said that affirmation, that's an auto suggestion, gets launched out to the universe at that level. I want to track things back at a very high level. We want all of our fellow sisters to track things back at a very high level. But I want to make sure, Petra, because I'm like a wind-up toy. You can just wind me up and I'll go, go, go. But I want to make sure if you want to interject anything, just to point me in the right direction.
I love what you're explaining, and you're giving me goosebumps over here. I really hope our listeners are getting that same feeling. I'm feeling so tuned in with what you're saying. And at the same time, I want to ask you a question, because I hear this a lot, and many people I speak with also in my close circle and in my family, they've heard about the law of attraction. They've watched a movie maybe about it. They've read about it on the internet. They made a vision board. They took some things out of a magazine, stuck it up on the vision board. And 10 years later, they're still waiting for it to happen. It sounds to me like you're talking about the law of attraction, but also in a way that we can harness that law of attraction in a very specific sense in our lives. So How does that happen, Pappy? That some people, they want to manifest, they make these vision boards, they send this out into the universe, but nothing happens. So, one thing that you mentioned is maybe it wasn't meant to happen and they may have been glad it didn't at some point. But other things, maybe they wanted them and they really are still waiting for them. So, what's happening there? Where is that disconnect happening?
Yeah, so where the disconnect, where that comes from, Petra, is let's think about this, that if the audience can just, again, I'm only offering suggestions all day long today. I'm staying 100% neutral, come from a perspective of pure spirituality, 100%. So if the audience can think of how maybe is it occurring, do I have around me? So one of the most common questions I'll get asked, Petra, someone will say, Pappy, and it's directly related to your comment. They'll say, Pappy, if there's one thing that you've turned me on about, it's that you've turned me on about manifesting. I believe it. I want to do it. Can you help me? Can you help me start to manifest, Pappy? That's a very common question I get. I'll say, my fellow sister, take a look at the room you're in right now. Look around you, 360 degrees around the entire room. You've manifested everything in that room that's around you. Think about all the experiences associated with everything around you in that room. Maybe something is it's a baseball, but think about, or softball, think about the softball game you went to or did you play. So you've got everything around you, all the experiences. My fellow sisters, your entire reality, my suggestion to you, your entire reality, you've manifested all of it. And people say to me, Pappy, they'll say, Petra, Pappy, no way, Pappy. I got all this. I'm going to use the word purple as a metaphor here. I'm going to say that everything around me, Pappy, is purple. And I hate purple. I hate it. There's no way I manifested this. Okay, I'll say, let's think about this, my fellow sister. How many thoughts does the average human being have per day? Up to 60,000. Up to 60,000. And these thoughts generate something, okay? So up to 60,000 thoughts. How many, and it doesn't matter. Let's even say, Petra, if it's half as many as that, if it's 30,000. The main point here is what percentage of our fellow sisters and brothers' thoughts are negative? What percentage are negative? 80%. What percentage are recurring? 90%. So to oversimplify this, our fellow brothers and sisters are thinking about a lot of negative things over and over. Now, let me simplify the math here. For every five thoughts, our average fellow brother or sister having, four are negative. Four negative. Why do I not have in my life? So the one positive thought out of five, let's say you like blue. You love blue. I don't like this purple. I hate purple. I want blue. Okay, you think that one happy thought out of five, bam, that firework goes off in the fifth dimension above. Beautiful, most beautiful blue firework you could ever imagine. What about those four negative fireworks you're sending off? Those four negative thoughts, they're going up to the fifth dimension or above. Those fireworks are going off, and let's just associate red with negative. So boom, 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 four red fireworks go off. And to oversimplify, you combine the blue from the positive firework with the red from the negative fireworks, and you get purple. I didn't ask for purple. That's what you've got in your life. So we have three main challenges. And Petra, this is all about, some of the simplest things are about repetition. So when I talk, Petra, I give three talks. I start at the very top. Most audiences, the first talk is manifesting law of attraction. What is it? Because a lot of our brothers and sisters just sort of have no clue. Then once we get our arms and minds around that, we come down a level and say, manifesting law of attraction, how does it work? I explain what it is, then how it works. And then where we're working to right now, you and I, is where the rubber meets the road. Okay, manifesting law of attraction, how do you do it? But it goes through this process. So if we think about this, what are our challenges? Think of that circle with your arm drawn a circle. Imagine a circle all the way around your head as far as your arm will stretch. And you think about up above that circle, what's coming towards you. So now there's arrows coming toward your conscious mind, the top half of that circle. And they are the news, the weather, the internet, social media, spouses, partners, significant others, sons, daughters, brothers, sisters, everything technology, the internet, music, movies. Now, your subconscious mind, I've told the audience, has access to all knowledge and all power of all time. it must take action by universal law. That's why I spent time at the beginning of talks just talk about universal laws a little bit. It must take action by universal laws. We would say we have self-talk all day long, things we tell ourselves. That's technically called self-talk, like self-talk. We have around 5,000 self-talks per day, the average human being, inner conversations in our head. So you're going to present to your team members, and it could even be 2 or 3 team members at your place of work, or it could be a parent teacher. It could be a family thing, but you're saying to yourself, your self-talk, I'm really nervous about this. It's a week away or 2 weeks away. I'm really nervous about this. I am terrible at talking in front of people, and this is not going to go well. Okay, now your subconscious mind, my fellow sisters, by universal law, must take action on every direction you give it. Must, by universal law. You tell it you're going to be bad at something. You think you've got an entire army in there. It goes to work on making sure that's bad, and it's a disaster. So again, 4 out of 5 are negative. You're given 4 negatives and only 1 positive. So everything coming towards us, what we get to do in life, Petra, and I do this all day long myself, we cancel and reject. So I teach a class in Nakuru, Kenya. There's 1,300 students at the school, at the Freehold School in Nakuru, Kenya. It's about 4 hours south of Nairobi. And the students, there's 50, 60, 70 of them on it. When I do a virtual class, and I'll say they're 13, 14, 15 years old. I say, can you please put your hand up if you've ever heard in your lifetime at any time, you will never be successful because you were born in Africa, or you'll never be successful because you were born in Kenya. Petra, every single class I've ever taught, every single hand goes up. And I tell those students, we're done with that. We're done as of this moment forward. You cancel, reject that. You don't ever accept anyone saying that. If you let that in your subconscious mind, so self-talk is what we tell ourselves, and these other arrows coming towards our conscious mind, the top half of that circle, its number one job on earth is to defend our subconscious mind. It's below it. Now, Petra, where do the greatest ideas on earth, the greatest concepts on earth go to die, so to speak? Where do they go to die? A rhetorical question. Where they go to die is with people who are closest to you. Mom, dad, brother, sister, son, daughter, whoever, closest peer, closest friend you have on earth. Hey, I'm thinking about this thing and I could invent something or create something. It's a product, a service, an idea. What in a super, and again, these are people who are having 80% negative thoughts all day long, 90% recurring negative thoughts. What do they tell you? What have they told our sisters listening in, Petra? Don't do that. You're going to embarrass her. That's the stupidest idea I've ever heard of. Oh my goodness. Don't tell anybody else this. This is going to be an utter failure. That will never succeed. This is where most thoughts and ideas go to die. Now, Thomas Edison in the United States, he was so good at what he did as an inventor. What was his nickname? His nickname was, quote unquote, the inventor. Thomas Edison had a major invention that he discovered, and he had some newspaper reporters in his laboratory, in his office, in his workshop. And they're going through page and they're looking at his notes that he had for this invention that he discovered. And the reporter says, Mr. Edison, I didn't realize that you were such a failure. And Thomas Edison says, what are you talking about? He said, are these notes right here? And he says, let me take a look. He said, these are my notes from, yes, I keep copious notes, everything. He said, you had 10,000 failures, 10,000 experiments before you invented this. How can you even, Thomas Edison cut him off in mid-sentence. He says, I never had one failure. This was research and development. You could call this a successful failure, however you want to do this, but these were an integral part. I would not have been successful. So again, our brothers and sisters, look at this. They can take all the air out of our balloon right away. So when I teach about your big 10x faith goal, 10xing your life, 10xing your physical health, your mental health, your love life, your wealth, whatever it is, typically I do recommend, at least until you get started, get good at this, you keep your big faith 10x goal to yourself, because our fellow brothers and sisters, there's a lot of negativity out there. So what derails them, like we said, family members and or whoever it is, but you started off with, Patriot, with the question we get to, and from human terms, we could say need to, we need to cancel and reject all these arrows coming at us. Now, what is going on in the top half of that top circle, our conscious mind, our biggest challenge there is our ego. Our ego. I look at our ego and I think about, I put my finger, like my pointing finger on top of my thumb as far as I can. I think about just like squishing that down to zero, just eliminating that, remove that ego. We start saying things like mine, this is my watch or my something. And we start to apply different emotions to that. Our ego says that swear word, whatever, that guy, he cheated to get what he got, or whatever it is. We've got greed and jealousy and anger and all these things come in. We want to squish our ego down to zero. What's our last challenge that derails our brothers and sisters from your original question, Petra? So we have these things coming towards our conscious mind. We have the ego inside of our conscious mind and the subconscious mind. What do we have here? This is, my fellow sisters, this is your hardware and software wiring system. This is what runs your entire life. Your subconscious mind provides 95% of what you accomplish. And I love all of your listeners more than they can imagine, Petra. But I say this in all due respect, my fellow sisters, your subconscious mind, your hardware, your software operating system that runs your life is full of limiting beliefs, and it has a virus. There's a virus in there. And I'm on earth to eradicate that virus. That's one of my reasons why I was put here, to eradicate these limiting beliefs. So there's a way of doing that, and that's what I coach. And it's a little bit of a process. We can manifest anything tomorrow. And I say with manifesting, once we get in a proper manifesting lifestyle, Petra, it's never an if, it's only a when. It's going to happen. So I would like all of your sisters thinking today, think of yourself like you're standing somewhere, and it could be an ethereal type environment, but you're standing or sitting, whatever you're most comfortable with. And you think about, you have this thought up in the fifth dimension or above, and it's a thought of physical health. And that outline starts to form. Then that gets placed on a conveyor belt, and that conveyor belt, as you apply emotion to it, is moving toward you. You think another thought that's mental wellness, there's another. So think of like almost like a watch, all the numbers all the way around you, 360 degrees. You go to the side. Now you've got this mental wellness goal coming towards you. You have a love or relationship or significant other goal. There's another conveyor belt coming towards you. You have a wealth goal. You have relationships goals. You have spiritual goals. Now you've got all these wonderful conveyor belts coming to you. If you focus your thought on it, you remain positive, you apply emotion. Now, we don't know. There's what's called universal orchestration and universal synchronicity and universal unfolding. So we don't know. What I tell our brothers and sisters, Petra, is, hey, we got to remember there's 8 billion plus of our fellow brothers and sisters out there. They're saying prayers, affirmations, intentions. They're putting thoughts and emotion out there. Universe is managing a lot of things. There's a lot of moving parts here, but I can guarantee our sisters listening, Petra, it will come to you if you are consistent at the best time and effort and place and methodology when it is supposed to, when it should come to you. So we never over obsess on it. Believe me, I've made these mistakes, and that's why I teach. Everything that I teach, Petra, works. I literally do all these things in my personal life. I took a wealth management practice from $0 to over $1 billion. I knew nothing about writing books. I've written books, #1 bestsellers, national, international. I knew nothing about that. I got started off with the manifestation mindset life coach. And if you can appreciate my background, I've got a couple master's degrees. I'm a CPA, so United States, that's somebody who's like really good with numbers and taxes and things. When I said I'm going to devote the rest of my life to help my fellow brothers, sisters manifest anything they can imagine, I was considered to sort of be like crazy by a lot of people. Like, Papi, what are you doing? You're like a financial wealth genius, and now you're doing this. So when I cracked the code on this, and I became 100% confident that we manifest everything in our lives, 100% confident we do it through the law of attraction. So what happens to get back to final answer, Petra, on our brothers and sisters to say, hey, this is not coming into my life. We got to think that if you've got 4 negatives and only 1 positive, you're not going to be manifesting anything you can imagine. If you've got 3 negatives, now what impedes it even more than that, Petra, is that, and your listeners just have to trust me. I ask your listeners to trust me until you find 1 of 2 things not to be true. Either I'm lying or I don't know what I'm talking about. They'll never find out that it is to be true, but still they can hold my feet to the fire on that. I was going through the manifesting through coming through the whole thing, but it will come to us when it is supposed to come to us through divine synchronicity, divine orchestration, and divine unfoldment. It has to by universal law, but we need to get over that hump of the 3 negative thoughts or out of 5, 4. And the point I was leading up to was for your audience was the trust me on this is that the universe only speaks and only exists in the present. The universe is eternally grounded in the present. Believe me, my fellow sisters, I'll just do a side digression for 1 second, Paige. So what I get is, Pappy, I got this figured out, or like, this is woo, whatever else it may be. And I'll say, okay, let's think about this, my fellow brothers and sisters. For the hundreds and hundred thousand years we've been here on planet Earth, how far have we figured to travel? How far have we figured out what all the human genius you're talking about? We've traveled physically, human beings from Earth to the moon. And let's give us that. That's another story for another day, but it eventually happened. So from here to the moon, traveling at the speed of light, it takes 1 second to get from Earth to the moon. So we figured out in hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years, travel 1 second. If our listeners, or if our fellow sisters can think of the room they're in right now and look at one wall where it meets the ceiling on one end of the room, and look at the other wall on the opposite end of the room where it meets the ceiling, and think of that entire expanse of your ceiling, the room you're in, as being the entire universe we live in, from end to end, one known end of our universe to the other known end of our universe. We figured out how to travel a distance of 1 second, traveling at the speed of light. How long would it take to travel from one end of our known universe to the other end of our known universe, traveling at the speed of light? 90 billion light years. 90 billion years. 90 billion years. We figured out 1 second. So I would just offer to you, my fellow sisters who are listening, there may be a lot of things out there that we don't understand. So this is one of them, that the universe is eternally grounded in the present. Now, 97% of our fellow brothers and sisters, Petra, and the audience can imagine, I'm standing, I'm looking straight ahead, and I have my elbows touching the side of my rib cage on each side. My hands are straight up, and I'm thinking, I got to stay in this space. I've got to stay in the presence. From my football days when I played football years ago in high school and college, my coaches would always say, keep your head where your feet are at. When you're in sports, it could be a tennis player or somebody. If you ask them, how did you screw that shot up? How did you make that mistake? They're saying, oh, I got problems with my boyfriend or girlfriend. And I'm thinking, well, they're like 1,000 miles or 100 miles away. Or I'm thinking, whatever else, your head is not where your feet are at. So the universe is eternally grounded in the present. And what happens is, if we could think of our listeners, if we're looking over to the left-hand side of us, the supermajority of our brothers and sisters are looking at the past and are complaining about the past. They're complaining about it over and over. I was just talking to a woman who's almost 70, and she mentioned numerous times how she got reprimanded unfairly when she was in grade school, when she was 7 or 8 years old. Here we are 60 some years later. That you will never manifest, and you can imagine properly, if you're complaining about the past. If you look the other direction into the future, what are most of our brothers and sisters doing there, Petra? They're fearful, they're worried, and they're doubtful, and they're putting. Now, what do we say how powerful emotions are, Petra, right? You're thinking a thought about the future, you're applying fear and worry. These are enormously powerful energies. You're not going to manifest what you can imagine. So that is how we get. So what we want to do, Petra, is live our life inside out. And that's what I teach, is how to live your life inside out, not at these arrows that are coming at you, not at your ego, doing all this stuff, messing things up in your conscious mind, not at your virus and your subconscious mind with all these limiting beliefs. You eliminate those. When you eliminate all or the supermajority of negativities, all that it can flow into is positive and good things. It's universal law. It has to happen.
I love that. Thank you for sharing all of that. I think our listeners are getting a lot of insight on some of the burning questions, because it seems so simple when you think of the law of attraction and anyone can make those vision boards and just manifest whatever they want. But the reality is there needs to also be some action behind that and some responsibility on our part to be doing that. Thank you for diving so deeply into that and actually sharing your thoughts on that with us. I find that fascinating when you mention how much do we actually know of the universe? Because yes, there's many things we have no idea about. That means the possibilities are endless, really, still.
Yes, possibilities are endless. And our goals are to grow, not to get. They're for us to grow. We came here to further express, expand, increase, and grow. That's why we came here to planet Earth. That's why we incarnated.
Yeah.
When you mention action, I just want to say, Paige, on that one, if I could say real quick, is that I have 2 chapters in my book dedicated to that. So when you mention our fellow sisters and brothers, there was a movie called The Secret that came out a couple of decades ago, and tons of people have watched it. Rhonda Byrne wrote the book and produced the movie, and Rhonda did a phenomenal job on that. But with an asterisk, I would just say it undervalued or under described action. So remember I said, everything is created twice, first in our thought, and then the physical object back of it is completed. So we get to perform efficient, inspired, joyful action. If our audience can think of, you're standing at the goal line of a football field, U.S. football or international, you're looking all the way to the other end, in the United States terms, I'm saying yards instead of meters, 100 and some yards away, and you think that thought, you've placed your want, your goal on a conveyor belt heading towards you. Now, can you just stand at this goal or goal line and with your thought and with your emotions, deliver it all 100 plus yards and drop it right in your hands? No, you cannot. You get to and need to perform action, efficient, inspired, joyful action. And your conveyor belt's coming towards you with your thoughts and your emotions. Your actions are you walking towards it. Now, on average, you'll meet at midfield. But as you get better, the universe is dying to do like most of the work with this. The universe will come 70, 80, maybe even 90% of the way towards you. You need to take just some action, a little bit to make it happen. But you're typically not even 50-50. Universe, we are loved beyond comprehension. We've been given wondrous gifts that if we don't have anything, you could be standing naked in a wheat field with wheat up to your waist, all by yourself, not another human being around for hundreds of miles. And if you asked above and said, how can I be here? How am I ever going to succeed? The universe would say, you have everything right now within you to succeed. You have everything within you, eternal, ethereal, perfect spirit, perfect spiritual name, perfect spiritual spark. You've got access to all knowledge and all power of all time with your subconscious mind, the universal subconscious mind. And it's not that complicated, this process to go through it. And our brothers and sisters, some things, writing out affirmations and saying them and visualizing them. With a lot of women, they're so strong with their emotions. I say, feel your way into your day. So I've got techniques for all of this. And like I said, I've used all these, they work, but just being consistent, having that confidence. And you do need to surround yourself, Petra, with people to believe in you. And this is one of the toughest things for a lot of our fellow sisters is there's family members that anytime you're around them, it's negative this, negative that. And that is one of the biggest things that you need to be able to manage, because you can't have that in your inner circle coming at you, telling you're not good, you're not worthy. So you need to elevate and gravitate towards people who are fans of you, who are neutral at worst, but who are positive, and it'll be a life changer. The 5 individuals who are close to you, closest to all of our listeners, are going to have an unbelievably profound effect on the success of their life. So be very careful who's closest to you and everything else in your life. Be very careful.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. We do go to our families first, I think, whenever we have those ideas and thoughts, because we're so excited. And oftentimes we walk away just so disappointed after that.
Yes, over and over, unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh, that's really a good thought for our listeners to take away, to really become aware of who you surround yourself with, who you spend your time with, and who you spend your energy on. Because this is one of the pieces that also comes together is, where does your energy go during your day? And while you are manifesting, where does your energy actually go? Very excellent points to be aware of. Now, Papi, if our listeners are curious, and I am convinced that by this point in the episode, their little wheels are turning and smoke's coming out and everyone is getting excited. How can they start on this path of manifesting anything that they desire? What are some good first steps? Maybe if they're beginners or they have just heard about this now through our episode or through, like you said, a movie they watched, what are some good first steps for them to start on?
One of my teaching points that our fellow sisters will hear me if they go and follow me on social media or anything, they'll hear me say over and over, read my book, read it every day. And I say, once you learn everything, you build a manifesting lifestyle, you become good at this, then you can branch out and hear other things, but it can get very confusing. So I would never tell anyone to read my book every day, Petra, if I didn't offer my book. So I offer my book for free. It's an ebook, electronic book. It's on my website. So Papi, P-A-P-I, mindset, the same way it sounds, MINDSET, coach.com. If you go to my website, papimindsetcoach.com, there's a green button there that says free ebook. So you can have a free book, because I say, read my book every day. Now, even better than that, at the top of the toolbar, you'll see free challenge, free 7-day challenge. So what I have, we said the real big picture, Petra, is manifesting law of attraction. What is it? Then the next layer, how does it work? And then how do you do it? So now this is getting into how you do it. So I have a 28-day online coaching course, I now offer the first 7 days for free. So any of your listeners can go there, free challenge, free 7-day challenge, and they'll get an email for 7 days. And I'm going through all the base building. So we talked a lot about today, the base building, because no matter what game it is, all of our fellow sisters listening in today, Petra, we're all in the game of life, and you cannot succeed at any game unless you understand the rules. So that's where a lot of people get thrown off also, Petra. I meet them, they're like, Papi, I want to manifest so bad. There was one woman, she's a very successful entrepreneur, met her about half a year ago, says, Papi, I heard you talk one time. I got turned on to this. Like, I'm reading 5 books right now. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. 5 different chefs in the kitchen. I say, please, for starters, I know this works. So our listeners, if they've ever heard of the book, Think and Grow Rich. So Think and Grow Rich was written by Napoleon Hill. This information was given to him from Andrew Carnegie, who's one of the 5 most successful entrepreneurs in the history of the United States. He told Andrew Carnegie how he accumulated hundreds of billions of dollars. Andrew Carnegie spent half his adult life accumulating wealth, spent the second half of his adult life giving it all away to charities. He gives his secret to Napoleon Hill. He writes Think and Grow Rich. It sells over 100 million copies, over 300 million. For our fellow brothers have read that book. The Neural Nightingale was in it, but then Bob Proctor, the torch was handed off from Andrew Carnegie to Napoleon Hill to Bob Proctor to myself. I hope it was handed off to a lot of other people as well. But the base building here is very important, not just like I'm going to start getting into trying to do affirmations and different things. It's like the base building is like, how does this work and why does it work? What are the rules of the game? But your listeners, for free, to have a free ebook and then to have the free seven free classes, and then they'll get an idea after that and see which way they can gravitate. But that would be a very good start for them to start to get their mind around this. And I just mentioned there are levels of consciousness, and we're all at different levels of consciousness. And one of the other things we never do, patrons, we never judge a fellow brother and sister. So if anyone's doing that, we need to cease and desist that immediately. We don't judge any of our fellow brothers and sisters. We're all at a level of consciousness where we're supposed to be, but we can move up. If there's 10 rungs on a ladder, you can move up from rung number 10 up to number 7 just from being interacting with some of this information. It may have taken you 10 or 20 or 30 years by yourself, but any of our listeners who are listening to us, I could have said it at the beginning of the podcast, Petra, it's not a coincidence that they're listening to this show. It's not a coincidence. Your subconscious mind, my subconscious mind reached out. They were called into this. Their schedule was adjusted. They were inputted to turn this on, to seek you out, etc. So you were called here. So I just say again, my fellow sisters, you're experts at this. Listen to your subconscious mind. What it's telling you is one of the happiest days of your listeners' lives, Petra, will be when decades ago, when I got a thought in my head, I thought they all came from the same place. But when you start to identify, no, this thought is from my conscious mind. Now, I call our conscious mind our stinking thinking. Dolores Cannon, who was a genius beyond comprehension, she called our conscious mind, she called human beings conscious mind. This is Dolores Cannon, who I hold in all reverence. Dolores Cannon called human beings conscious mind Mr. Stupid. She said, get Mr. Stupid out of the way and get down into the rich treasure of your subconscious mind. And women already have an advantage because this is off of feelings and emotions. And when you apply emotion to it and feeling to it, that's the secret sauce that makes this happen. But they can start here to raise their level of consciousness. And once we get up those higher rungs of the ladder, what I do is activate our fellow brothers and sisters to get from a certain rung up to the top rung. So the top rung that I'm going to get all of your listeners onto who are willing to invest time in this. Now, one thing I'll mention also, Petra, this at the end of the day takes no extra time. People ask me all the time, Papi, is this going to be an extra half hour of my day or hour or whatever else it is? No, what you're going to be doing is in your subconscious mind, your boy, you're going to be putting in good habits on one side and taking bad habits out on the other. You may eliminate a little bit of TV. Just think about if you eliminate our fellow brothers and sisters, 60,000 thoughts, 80% are negative. You just start removing some negative thoughts. The time you're devoting through the course of the day, thinking about fear and worry and anxiety, you start to back off on that and eliminate that. And you put these good manifesting lifestyle habits into your life. It takes no net extra time at the end of the day. Actually, at the end, you'll be spending less time because you won't be worrying about this and anxiety and everything else. So yeah, a free ebook is awaiting and then the free 7-day course. And that will give your listeners a real good feel for this if they'd like to look and delve deeper.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I'm just going to add my 2 cents to that because I loved your challenge. So yes, highly recommend. Just go to the website. Of course, we'll be linking to all of Papi's offerings in the show notes as well. So you can check there for the links. And I just want to say that your book, the one that I can see behind you sitting there, our viewers and listeners can't see that, but it's the Manifest Anything You Can Imagine book. You can also get that on Audible. So if you prefer to listen to it, for example, as an audiobook, as I did, that was fantastic. Just put my headphones in, listen to that throughout the day. Also wonderful experience. So absolutely, hands down, highly recommend, and a great start if you're curious about this now, or if you've already dabbled in it and you want to progress with this and open up your consciousness even more, align yourself even more, and start manifesting more. Definitely grab the book, grab the ebook, grab the listening on Audible if you like. And Papi is absolutely going to just open up this whole new world that you can look into. So thank you so much, Papi, for joining me today. It has been an honor to have you here and share your wisdom, your experience, and your insights into what manifesting actually is and how it works with our listeners. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much. Namaste, my wonderful sister. Can I just send out one last piece of love at the end, Petra? Yeah, to your entire audience, Petra, I would like to send out to you and your entire audience the wonderful feminine energy that's listening in today. I want to send all of you love, light, truth, inner knowing, and remembrance for you to remember why you came here. You are so special. And that's why I'm here, to get you to remember your genius, why you came here, and that if you can think it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. So namaste, my wonderful sister. Thank you so much for having me on your show today.
Namaste, Papi. Namaste to our listeners.
Thank you.
And we will reconvene in our next episode. Thank you, Papi.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen in. If you enjoy the Jōrni Podcast, please support us by subscribing, sharing on social media, and leaving us a review. We appreciate you. And you can find more of The Jōrni on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and our website, thejorni.com. Sending you love and courage, and see you next time.